Revenge films.
One day, I came home from work and found my older brother in bed with my wife. I couldn't handle what I was seeing. I panicked and ran out of the house. That night, I stayed at a business hotel. My phone blew up with calls from both my wife and my brother, but I was too shocked and devastated to answer any of them. As the reality began to sink in, I knew I couldn't forgive what had happened. I decided I wanted to talk things through with both of our parents involved. At that point, I had no intention of rebuilding anything with my wife. Divorce was the only path I could see. Her parents live far away in the countryside, so they couldn't come immediately. I told them right away that I was going to divorce her. Her parents, who are genuinely good people, were deeply ashamed and heartbroken over what their daughter had done. They called me repeatedly to apologize. Every time I heard them say, "I'm sorry," I felt something tighten in my chest. But no matter how kind they were, I just couldn't forgive my brother and my wife. I told them clearly I was getting a divorce. 2 days later, we all sat down, including my parents, my wife, my brother, and me. Almost immediately, my brother said, "Yeah, I know what I did was wrong, but you must have done something to push her away, right?" And I almost lost it right then and there. But thankfully, my dad punched him before I did, which helped me cool down a bit. I asked when the affair had started and said I wanted to get a DNA test for our child. They insisted it had only started recently and that the baby was definitely mine. As for my parents, my dad was furious with my brother and clearly stood by me. But my mother, it felt like she was more worried about my brother than me. She was like, "You don't have to be so hard on him." And in that moment, I gave up on her completely. While we were in the middle of the conversation, my wife got a call from her parents. I overheard her saying,
"I can't believe you called my mom and dad over just a silly fight between husband and wife. What is wrong with you?"
"But seriously, what's wrong with her? She cheated on me with my own brother and she's calling it a silly fight?" It was obvious that she had no intention of divorcing me, and honestly, I couldn't believe it. That day's conversation ended after a few hours, but I couldn't bear to be around her anymore, so I went back to the business hotel. That night, I got a text from my brother. "I'll never see her again. Please don't tell our friends or anyone at work." It was so selfish and ridiculous, I couldn't help but laugh. I never imagined my own brother, someone I grew up with, could be such a piece of garbage. As I was exchanging texts with him, my wife also reached out to me. She said she was sorry, begged for forgiveness, and promised it would never happen again. She said we had a child and pleaded for me not to throw everything away. She also mentioned she couldn't survive financially on her own with the kid. But from the way she was talking, it sounded like she still believed she had a shot at getting custody, even after everything she'd done. That alone made me sick. To make things worse, my mom called too. She said,
"Sure, your brother was wrong, but if you and Maya, your wife, had just gotten along better, none of this would have happened. And how is your brother supposed to pay $32,000 in damages? Don't you think you could at least lower it a little? He's your brother, after all."
I nearly lost it. Exactly because he's my brother, I can't forgive him. But clearly, she only cared about him. I didn't hear anything from my father that day, but with all three of them contacting me and spewing their selfish nonsense, I honestly felt like giving up on everything. Still, I had a child to think about. I wasn't about to hand custody over to the woman who betrayed me like that. So, at the second family meeting, this time with her parents also present, we sat down to talk things through. My wife said,
"Please reconsider the divorce. Life is hard enough for single mothers. I'll never betray you again, I promise."
I couldn't help but laugh, and I told her, "You won't need to live as a single mother. I'm taking full custody. Your life from now on will just be about working to pay me compensation." She snapped.
What? Hell no! I won't give up my child. I won't give up my child. A mother is essential to a child's growth.
But before she could even finish her sentence, her father slapped her hard across the face. "Enough with the selfish nonsense! You betrayed your husband, and not just with anyone, with his brother! After what you've done, you've got no right to talk about custody!" She broke down crying in front of everyone. I don't know if it was from the pain of being slapped or the realization that she might actually lose her child. Either way, I felt nothing. My emotions were gone. I then demanded $32,000 in damages from both my wife and my brother. My brother said he couldn't pay it all at once, but would pay in installments. My wife screamed that she didn't want a divorce and kept crying, only to be yelled at again by her father. My mother was still being unreasonable, but at least my dad said my demands were fair. My in-laws agreed too, so I thought everything was finally over. But the next day, my brother disappeared. He ran away. I realized he never planned on paying the $32,000 compensation in the first place. All that talk about figuring out a way to pay was just stalling. I found out because someone from his company called me asking if I knew where he was. They said he hadn't shown up for work without notice. Apparently, this wasn't the first time. They told me they'd already warned him that another unexcused absence would get him fired. I was beyond exhausted with how much of a deadbeat he turned out to be. I tried calling him over and over, but he never picked up. Then my mother snapped at me.
This is all your fault. You kept attacking your brother and drove him away. It was just an affair. You could have forgiven him.
That was the last straw. Just when I was about to lose it, my dad stepped in. In a cold, low voice, he said to her, "Get out." She looked stunned and said, "What?" Like she couldn't believe what she just heard. Then my dad exploded. "You didn't hear me? I said get out! What the hell is wrong with you? He was betrayed by his own brother! How is he the one at fault here? The ones who did wrong are those two! And if you can't see that, I can't live with you anymore! He's taking custody of his child, and I'll help raise our grandchild! You can leave this house!" I was shocked. But my mother was even more stunned. She tried to say, "That's not what I meant," but my dad wasn't having it. In the end, he kicked her out of the house. She ended up going back to live with her parents. Do I feel sorry for her? Not even a little. As for my wife, I'm not sure if it was her dad yelling at her or reality finally sinking in, but in the end, she accepted the divorce. She agreed to work as much as possible and pay the full $32,000 in damages. That part was settled. Now, all that was left was my brother. He still wasn't answering his phone, and we had no idea where he was. I was stressing about what to do when something completely unexpected happened. We found him. Turns out his trash behavior wasn't limited to just family. It had spread to his workplace, too. Apparently, a while back, he told a coworker that our parents were sick and needed expensive treatment. Using that excuse, he borrowed $10,200 and never paid it back. He kept dodging repayment until he suddenly disappeared again. His coworker finally had enough and reported him to the police. That's how they found him, and he was arrested. It was a wild turn of events. Once he got arrested, he was immediately fired from his job. But my brother was one of those guys who always dumped money into his car. He had a pretty fancy one, so that car ended up being sold off to help pay my damages and repay the coworker. Now he's got a criminal record, no job, and our father officially disowned him. Last I heard, he's living alone in some run-down apartment, completely broke and hopeless. My ex-wife, meanwhile, is working herself to the bone from early morning shifts to late-night cleaning jobs just to pay me back. Honestly, serves her right. As for me, I got full custody of our child. With my dad by my side, I'm doing my best to build a new life. Just the two of us, moving forward together.
My name is Sasha. I'm 24 years old and have been working as a company employee since graduating from university. I'm still close with my college friends. We keep in frequent contact and regularly have get-togethers. We're planning a trip to Hawaii for the upcoming New Year's, but there's one thing bothering us as the trip approaches. It's Hannah, the so-called mountain girl from college who everyone disliked. Hannah was one of the friends I shared my college years with, but both I and the others weren't fond of her. The main reason? She was obsessed with money, and not only that, her family wasn't rich, so she was into sugar dating to fund her lifestyle. She would go out to dinner or travel with men 30 years older than her and post about it on social media, showing off like she was a celebrity. What's worse, Hannah had a handsome boyfriend attending a well-known university, but she hid her sugar dating and lied, saying things like, "I went on a trip with friends using money I earned from my part-time job." In front of us, she bragged endlessly about living off daddy's money. She'd say things like, "There are tons of older men who'd want to spend money on cute girls. Maybe you guys wouldn't manage, but for someone like me, catching a rich guy is a piece of cake." She constantly tried to one-up everyone. Because of her attitude, Hannah was disliked by many girls. After graduating, we all drifted apart, but I still kept an eye on her social media posts, bragging about her extravagant lifestyle. Every time I saw them, I thought, she must still be sugar dating, and felt exasperated. Then, 2 years after graduation, I suddenly received a wedding invitation from Hannah. The groom turned out to be Hannah's handsome boyfriend from college, who graduated from a well-known university. I was shocked to learn that she'd continued sugar dating while still seeing him. To think she was cheating on her serious boyfriend who she was supposedly dating with marriage in mind just to get rich men to treat her was beyond disgusting. Even though I was invited to her wedding, honestly, I had no intention of celebrating her. Still, since I received the invitation, I felt awkward declining, so all of us college friends decided to attend together. The wedding was scheduled just 1 week before our planned Hawaii trip. If Hannah found out about our vacation, she would definitely try to one-up us as usual. To avoid the drama, we all agreed not to mention the Hawaii trip and went to the wedding. During the ceremony, Hannah surprisingly gave off a humble impression. She was definitely putting on an act in front of her husband, and we couldn't help but exchange wry smiles throughout. During the ceremony, the bride's letter to her parents was read aloud, and as a surprise, she revealed that it was a shotgun wedding. The audience applauded in congratulations. Looking closely, it was clear that Hannah's belly was quite large, not early pregnancy at all. She later said that although it didn't look obvious, she was actually over 8 months pregnant. I said, maybe Hannah will calm down now that she's becoming a mother, and tried to offer congratulations, but then, during the candle lighting part, Hannah came over to our table. When the groom stepped away, she said, "You poor things, all still single? I hope you find someone wonderful like me soon, but, well, I guess it's impossible for y'all. Just do your best." Then as she left, she added, "By the way, I'm going on my honeymoon to Hawaii next week. Someone make a group chat so I can send photos." At that moment, one of my friends accidentally blurted out, "Wait, isn't next week the same time as our Hawaii trip?" Hearing this, Hannah sneered. What? You poor plain girlies going to Hawaii? I see. You're trying to compete with me, but don't think you can win. I'll be showing off on social media how happy I am at the peak of life. Then she walked away. Seeing Hannah's unchanged, nasty side right in front of us left us speechless and utterly exasperated. On the day of our Hawaii trip, we figured the island was so big there was no way we'd run into Hannah, so we decided to forget about her and enjoy ourselves to the fullest. As we were relaxing and soaking up the vacation vibes, everyone's phone suddenly buzzed at once. Hannah had sent maternity photo pictures to all of us, along with a text saying, "Maternity photos in Hawaii are a must, right?" We weren't about to let her one-up us even on vacation, so we all turned off notifications for her messages and continued enjoying our trip. On the last day in Hawaii, with our skin nicely bronzed, we were leisurely browsing souvenirs at the airport and sipping coffee at a cafe. I suddenly remembered Hannah and, on a whim, checked my messages. There were dozens of texts from her saying things like, "Why is no one reading my texts? I'm in labor in Hawaii and it is so hard. Why isn't this covered by insurance? I can't pay $64,000. Please lend me money." When I told the others, they revealed they'd all received the same texts. Because we'd all muted her messages on the first day, we hadn't noticed, but it seems she'd gone into labor right after taking those maternity photos. None of us had any money to lend her, so we just ignored the messages, turned off our phones, and boarded the plane. A little while after returning to Japan, I got a call from an unknown number. To my surprise, it was Hannah's husband. He said he had some questions for us, so we arranged to meet at a cafe. When my friends and I arrived, there were two men waiting, Hannah's husband and a middle-aged gentleman. He apologized, saying,
"Thank you all for coming. This is my lawyer."
Then began explaining the situation. Hannah had gone into labor 2 months earlier than expected in Hawaii and delivered a premature baby, which required hospitalization. After the birth, she had been texting someone non-stop, and her husband, concerned, secretly checked her phone. Along with the texts begging us for money, he found messages she'd sent to her sugar daddy saying, "I'll keep our physical relationship going after the baby's born if you give me $64,000. Shocked, he confronted her, but she denied everything. After returning to Japan earlier, he hired the lawyer to investigate Hannah's affairs and wanted to hear from us. We told him everything about her sugar dating during college and the details we knew. One of my friends had actually met the man Hannah called Daddy before, and even knew his name and workplace. When we told this to her husband, he said,
"Thank you, ladies. This is a great help."
And his expression grew serious. 1 month later, we received a letter from Hannah's husband. He explained that he had quickly identified the man she was having an affair with and confirmed that she had been cheating for years. As a result, they were getting divorced. Furthermore, DNA testing revealed that the child wasn't his, but the affair partner's. He was demanding a large sum in damages from both her and the other man, and the affair partner would be responsible for child support. She was now a single mother. Though Hannah gave birth in Hawaii, the baby, born prematurely, still hadn't been discharged from the hospital. Medical bills were piling up every day. When her parents were informed of the affair by her husband, they were furious. It seemed that even after the baby was discharged, she wouldn't have a place to return to. The man in his 50s, who had long acted as Hannah's sugar daddy, actually had a wife and children. When she demanded $64,000 from him, he flatly rejected her, saying he had no intention of divorcing. It seemed likely she would have to borrow money to pay the damages, and she would face a difficult future raising the child alone while struggling to repay the debts. She had no choice but to regret her past actions. We never saw Hannah again after that, but we still meet regularly and keep each other updated on life. She's become a source of laughter among us, and whenever her name comes up, we can't help but say, "I never want to see her again," and laugh about it.
My name is Ben. I'm 28, single, and working for a foreign company. I recently got assigned to a post overseas and just moved to the US. Leaving Japan actually came at the perfect time for me because I had just gone through a breakup with my ex, Lauren. Lauren and I had been dating for about a year. She's 4 years younger than me, and I'll admit I had a soft spot for her. Whenever she got clingy or pouty, I'd usually give in and do whatever she wanted. She could get pretty jealous, too. If I had a string of work dinners or parties, she'd get suspicious and ask,
Were there any girls there? You're not cheating on me, right?
I knew she worried a lot, and I just wanted to ease her mind. That's why, on our 1-year anniversary, I decided to propose. I bought a ring, made a reservation at a fancy restaurant, and planned everything down to the last detail. The night of the anniversary, I waited outside the restaurant, nervous as hell. Then Lauren showed up, all excited.
Wow, this place is amazing. I've never been anywhere like this before.
She said with a huge smile. Seeing her that happy helped me relax, at least a little. After dinner, we were sipping wine, and I finally built up the courage. I pulled out the ring, looked her in the eye, and said, Lauren, will you marry me? But instead of saying yes, she froze.
Wait, are you serious? Oh my gosh, this is huge. I can't decide something like that on the spot. Can I have some time to think?
I had proposed because I wanted to make her feel secure, but in that moment I realized maybe I'd misread everything. I suddenly felt embarrassed, like I'd been acting on my own assumptions. After that night, I waited patiently for her answer. A week passed, then 2, then a month, but she never gave me one. It was like nothing had happened. Life just moved on. That's when the overseas assignment came up at work. Most of my coworkers had families, kids about to start school, take entrance exams, that kind of thing, so they weren't in a position to relocate. Being single, I was the obvious choice. They asked me to go. And honestly, I said yes without thinking twice. When they suddenly dropped the overseas assignment on me, I'll be honest, I couldn't really process it at first. It didn't feel real. But I couldn't say no either. In the end, I reluctantly agreed on the condition that I'd be allowed to return to Japan after 2 years. What I really wanted, though, was to hear Lauren's answer to my proposal. I decided to take a leap and ask her to come to the US with me. I invited her out to dinner again, this time at a romantic Italian place with a view of the city lights. I waited nervously all through the meal for the right moment. After we finished our course meal and were sipping wine, I finally spoke up. I've been assigned to work overseas, I said, looking her straight in the eyes. Would you come to the US with me? Her response stunned me.
No way.
She blurted out. What? Why not? I asked, still trying to understand. She looked uncomfortable and said,
Because I don't see us like that. I mean, there's someone else I actually want to marry.
I couldn't believe what I was hearing. After everything, after how controlling and possessive she'd been, she had someone else in mind for marriage? While I sat there in shock, trying to process everything, she added,
Honestly, this is too much. Can we just break up?
I stayed quiet for a moment and then said, Fine, but can you give back the ring I gave you? Her reaction changed instantly. She started to panic.
Wait, that ring was a gift. You can't just ask for it back now.
She avoided eye contact, and I immediately put 2 and 2 together. Did you sell it? She snapped back.
So what if I did? You gave it to me, didn't you? It's mine now. I can do whatever I want with it. You were just a fling anyway.
I was stunned. I didn't even have the words to respond. I paid the bill and left the restaurant alone, numb from the shock. After that night, Lauren blocked my number and completely cut me off. We had been in love, or so I thought, but the truth was she'd had someone else the whole time. I couldn't get over it for a while. The pain stuck with me, and in the end, I moved to the US alone, feeling heartbroken and lost. The early days in the US were tough. I struggled to adjust to life in a foreign country, and for a while I was too busy just trying to survive to even think about Lauren. But with time, I started to see things more clearly. Honestly, I realized I was lucky. Better to find out she wasn't the right person before getting married than after. Eventually, the emotional scars began to heal, and I started focusing more on work. I wanted to make the most of my time abroad and prove myself professionally. Then, one day, in the middle of my usual hectic schedule, one of my coworkers told me he knew a woman he wanted to introduce to me since I was single, and he set up a dinner for us. I showed up at the restaurant at the agreed time, not expecting much. But when I walked in, I saw a blonde woman waiting at the table. I greeted her in English, but to my surprise, she responded in Japanese.
Hajimashite, Jessica Toimasu. Nice to meet you. I'm Jessica.
I must have looked shocked because she smiled and explained that her grandmother is Japanese and she had actually lived in Japan until she was in middle school. My coworker had been worried I might feel lonely without any Japanese friends around, so he introduced me to Jessica. After that, the two of us started meeting up regularly, and we gradually grew closer. Jessica worked as an interpreter. She was 2 years younger than me, and unlike Lauren, she was responsible, independent, and carried herself with confidence. But when it was just the two of us, she'd let her guard down and show this softer, gentler side. That contrast really drew me in, and before I knew it, we were dating. During my 2 years in the US, Jessica and I built something real together. Our relationship grew stronger with time, but time flew by, and before I knew it, my return to Japan was right around the corner. Even though I wanted to propose to Jessica, I couldn't bring myself to say it. The trauma of being rejected by Lauren still haunted me, and part of me wasn't sure that she would want to leave behind her career and life here just to come live with me in Japan. I agonized over it for weeks, but finally, just days before my departure, I made up my mind. I was going to propose. Then, right before I had the chance, Jessica invited me out to dinner. We were having a great time, laughing and enjoying the evening, when suddenly she got serious. Looking straight into my eyes, she said,
Take me to Japan with you?
I was stunned. I hadn't expected her to propose to me. I was so overwhelmed with joy that I started crying right there at the table. Jessica laughed through her own tears and teased.
Aren't we doing this backwards?
Right after my assignment ended, I returned to Japan with my fiancé by my side. The moment we arrived, Jessica looked around the airport and said excitedly,
It's been so long since I've been in Japan. It feels so nostalgic.
We stopped at a cafe in the airport lobby for coffee. As we were sitting there, out of nowhere, someone grabbed my shoulder from behind. I turned around, and there she was. Lauren! She said,
I heard from someone at your company that you'd be flying in around this time today. I've been waiting for you.
Then her eyes locked onto Jessica, and her expression turned cold.
Who is this? Don't tell me you've been cheating on me.
I stared at her for a second and then replied, This is my fiancé, and we broke up a long time ago, remember? Lauren's face twisted in disbelief.
This blonde chick is your fiancé? Are you kidding me?
Then Lauren suddenly grabbed my shoulders and shook me, blurting out,
I realize you're the only one I truly care about. Please, marry me. Say yes, come on.
I didn't even hesitate. Nope. When she looked stunned, I added firmly, and if you keep this up, I'll go to the police. Her face twisted with frustration, and without another word, she turned and ran off. Later, I heard some rumors. Apparently, the guy Lauren said she actually wanted to marry had scammed her and left her in debt and then dumped her. After that, she started regretting turning down my proposal and tried to contact me. But by then, I had already blocked her number right after she'd blocked mine. With no way to reach me, she started asking around at my company and waited for my return to Japan. After I rejected her at the airport, she started showing up outside my office every day. Eventually, she figured out where I lived. Things got even more disturbing when she began following Jessica. One day, I actually caught her trying to put bugs in our mailbox. That was the last straw. I called the police. They issued a strict warning telling her never to come near us again. After that, she disappeared for good. As for Lauren, rumor has it that she started using dating apps to find guys in the same industry as me. She went on endless dates hoping to land someone like me again, but she ended up getting tricked by another guy. This time it led her into shady work, possibly even illegal. Word is she's involved in some pretty sketchy stuff now. Even though she's long out of my life, I can't help but feel a little sorry for her. But then again, she brought it on herself. As for me, once Jessica and I started our newlywed life in Japan, I began to experience a kind of happiness I'd never known before. Every single day felt full of warmth, joy, and peace. Looking back, I honestly feel grateful Lauren rejected my proposal back then. If she hadn't, I never would have found the happiness I have now. From now on, I just want to keep working hard, stay healthy, and protect this beautiful life I've built with the woman I love most.
My name is Chloe. I live with my husband Mike and our daughter, who just turned 1. I'm currently on maternity leave, fully focused on raising our little girl, but I'm about to return to my job as a dental assistant. Lately, though, there's been something weighing heavily on my mind. It's the fact that my husband is completely uninvolved in parenting. He always says he's too busy with work and uses that as an excuse to leave everything child-related to me. Diapers, bottles, baby food, he hasn't helped even once. Even when I ask him to watch her for a little bit so I can run to the store, he brushes me off with,
"Nah, she'll cry and be loud. Just take her with you. You're the mom, aren't ya?"
He refuses to lift a finger, and once I go back to work, I'll be juggling a full-time job, housework, and childcare all on my own. The thought of that honestly terrifies me. But that's not all. At home, not only does Mike do nothing for our daughter, he doesn't help with the chores either, and he expects me to take care of his personal needs too. Despite this, he puts on a great show for everyone else. In public, he'll joke,
"Because she's so lazy, I've had to step up and become a super dad."
It's a complete lie. He's obsessed with looking like a good husband and father to others, but his actions at home are the total opposite. My trust in him is slowly eroding day by day. Then one day, Mike said we'd been invited to his boss's house for a home party and that our daughter and I were expected to come too. Before we left the house, he turned to me and said,
"Just smile and go along with whatever I say, all right? Don't go saying anything unnecessary."
I was too stunned to respond, so I just left the house without a word. When we arrived at his boss's place, Mike suddenly transformed into a whole different person, helpful, caring, and all smiles.
"Let me carry that for you. Oh, watch your step, honey,"
he said, acting like the world's most thoughtful husband. His boss's wife even commented,
"Oh, how sweet. Oh, what a caring husband you have."
There were 2 other couples at the party, both older, with grown kids. The wives adored our daughter, and I genuinely appreciated the warm attention. When it was time to help with the meal prep, I handed our daughter to Mike and headed to the kitchen. That's when our daughter started crying, calling out, "Mama! Mama!" Mike panicked and asked,
"What's wrong? Why is she crying?"
As soon as I came back, she calmed down. Mike didn't look too happy about that. I was about to carry her in the baby carrier and keep cooking when the boss's wife said kindly,
"Why not let your husband take care of her, just for today?"
and brought our daughter back to Mike. Just then I overheard Mike saying loudly to his boss and coworkers,
Man, my wife is so lazy. She leaves all the housework and childcare to me. It's tough, but hey, I'm a family man, so I don't complain. I just do everything myself.
He was lying through his teeth, trying to boost his image as the perfect hands-on dad. But then the boss's wife raised an eyebrow and said,
That's not the impression I get. Chloe's great in the kitchen and she clearly knows what she's doing when it comes to parenting.
Mike gave an exaggerated sigh and laughed.
Oh, she's just good at putting on a show for others.
Hearing him talk like that made my blood boil, so I tried my best to tune him out and focus on the cooking. Later, as we all sat down to eat, our daughter started crying because she was hungry. Mike, trying to show off, picked up a piece of fried chicken and brought it to her mouth. She'd only ever eaten baby food before. I rushed over and snatched it away. "What are you doing? Stop it! She could choke herself!" I snapped, and Mike rolled his eyes and said loudly,
Oh, geez, don't be so uptight. She's hungry. She wants some fried chicken, don't you, Mia?
I couldn't hold it in any longer. "What kind of parent tries to shove fried chicken into a 1-year-old's mouth? She only eats baby food. Do you seriously not know that?" Mike got defensive and muttered,
I know. It was just a joke, obviously.
Watching the whole exchange, the boss's wife quickly stepped in.
All right. Mia's hungry, right? Why not feed her some baby food instead? Come on, Super Dad, this is your moment to shine.
She said with a smile, handing him the baby food. Mike looked at it, clearly confused.
What is this? How do I even feed her?
The boss's wife smiled sweetly but firmly.
I thought you said you always handle the child care in the house. Feeding her baby food should be no problem then, right?
Mike was clearly flustered, but took the spoon and awkwardly tried to feed Mia. But the spoonful was way too much, and she turned her head away. After a few failed attempts, he started getting irritated and snapped.
Come on, just eat it already, damn it!
That was the last straw. The boss, who had been quietly observing until now, suddenly stood up and yelled.
What do you think you're doing yelling at a little child? Are you insane? And after everything you've said about your wife, it turns out you can't do anything at all! So much for being a doting father. You've been lying this whole time!
Then came a long, brutal lecture from the boss, right there in front of everyone. I later learned that Mike's boss is known at work as a devoted family man. He has a grown daughter now, but he's always adored her and been deeply involved in his family's life. Naturally, he has no tolerance for people who don't value their families. He had invited us to the party because he believed Mike was a loving, hands-on father. But once he saw the reality that Mike's so-called super dad persona was all an act, he quickly saw through the lies. At first, he tried to stay polite, but the moment Mike yelled at our daughter, that was the breaking point. While the boss was still tearing into Mike with a furious lecture, his wife leaned over to me and whispered,
You know, you don't have to put up with this. Divorce is a perfectly valid option.
Truth is, I had already made up my mind. If Mike didn't change once I returned to work, I was going to leave him. I had the divorce papers ready, just in case. Hearing her words gave me the final push I needed. When the boss finally wrapped up his scolding, I stood up and said, "Excuse us, we need to talk privately." Then grabbed Mike by the arm and let him out, his pride clearly in shambles. As soon as we got home, Mike exploded.
This is all your fault! You embarrassed me in front of my boss! If I lose my job, it's on you!
Our daughter, startled by his yelling, burst into tears. Instead of comforting her, Mike turned to her and shouted,
Shut up!
That was it. I scooped up our daughter and went straight to the bedroom. I came back holding the divorce papers and threw them down in front of him. He laughed.
Seriously? And how exactly do you think you're going to survive without me?
I looked him in the eye and said, I'm going back to work next month, and let's be real. Without my maternity leave payments, we wouldn't have even made it this far on your salary. Mike is a low-level employee who's never been especially good at his job. His income alone wouldn't have been enough to support us, but since I've always handled the bills and finances, he clearly had no clue. From his expression, he didn't believe me. I didn't bother trying to convince him. He'd find out the hard way soon enough. I forced him to sign the divorce papers then and there. I also made him agree to pay child support every month and warned him that if he missed a single payment, I'd hire a lawyer and take him to court. Frustrated, he muttered,
Fine, whatever. I'll pay, all right?
And just like that, it was finally over. The very next day, I submitted the divorce papers and moved back in with my parents. About 2 weeks later, Mike suddenly showed up at my family's house looking desperate.
Chloe, please come back to me. I can't even cover all the bills on my salary alone.
I looked at him calmly and said, I warned you, didn't I? No matter what you say, I am not coming back. Just make sure child support is your top priority. If you miss a payment, I'll take you to court. Then I slammed the door in his face. He stood outside for a while, shouting things like,
I'm sorry. I was wrong. Please, let's start over. I'll help with the baby this time, I swear.
But I ignored him. Eventually, he gave up and left. After that, things spiraled quickly for him. He started missing rent payments and was eventually evicted from his apartment. With no money and nowhere to go, he bounced from one friend's place to another, but people soon grew tired of him. One by one, everyone distanced themselves. In the end, he tried staying at a hotel, but when he couldn't pay the check out, the staff called the police. When his parents found out he'd gotten into trouble with the law, they were furious. They dragged him back to their house and essentially put him under house arrest. I heard he's been living as a shut-in ever since, stripped of his freedom and cut off from the outside world. As for me, moving back home turned out to be the best decision I could have made. My parents adore my daughter, and with their help, parenting has become a lot more joyful and manageable. After returning to work, life has definitely been busy, but I feel fulfilled, supported, and stronger than ever. From now on, I'm going to work hard, not just for myself, but to make sure my daughter never feels the absence of a father. Whatever comes our way, I'll face it head-on for her.
My name is Tyler. I'm 32 and I work for a company. My wife, Haley, is 31. These days, she just works part-time. She used to be a full-time employee, but after failing her promotion exams multiple times, she gave up on moving up the corporate ladder and quit once we got married. I asked her, "You used to work really hard before we got married. Don't you think it's a waste to just throw it all away?" She replied,
If I can't be on the winning team and get promoted, then what's the point? I'd rather just work a chill part-time job.
So, this is another side of her, I thought, one I hadn't seen before. Fast forward a year into our marriage, I discovered yet another side of her. Wow, this is some flashy lingerie. One evening, I came home and noticed her underwear drying indoors. It was the fancy kind, expensive-looking lingerie, nothing like the simple, comfort-focused stuff she used to wear.
Looks nice, right?
She said casually. Yeah, I guess, I mumbled, thrown off by how suddenly her style had changed. Something's off, I thought. So I checked her phone. Is she seeing someone? The person she'd been texting the most had a woman's name. Haley often says she's out meeting up with girlfriends, so at first I didn't think much of it. But after reading a few messages, it was obvious. That wasn't a woman, that was a guy. A side guy. I hired a private investigator. Turns out Haley was cheating with a guy she went to high school with. The PI got proof. Come to think of it, I realized she went to a reunion a few months back. Must have started then. One weekend afternoon, I confronted her. At first, she panicked, but then she suddenly got defiant.
You're a loser, and that man you call my side guy, he's a winner.
A winner?
That's right.
So let me guess, you've made up your mind to leave me and marry him, huh? Fine, I'll be sending both of you a claim for emotional damages, $20,000 each.
That's a lot, considering your salary.
It's a lot no matter who you are.
Idiot. He makes $70,000 a year. He can pay mine too without even blinking.
Is that so?
I'll divorce you. I'm going to marry a rising star at a big company and finally be part of the winning team.
She agreed to the divorce without hesitation. Left alone, I muttered to myself. She still doesn't know who he really is. Perfect! Let's get this divorce finalized while she's still in the dark. I went through with the divorce quickly. That's when my ex-wife's downward spiral began. Once she found out the truth about her affair partner, she started calling me, begging to get back together. I ignored every call. Eventually, I met with the guy she cheated with. I brought my lawyer. He brought his too. The four of us sat down to discuss the compensation claim. I told him, I've already charged my ex-wife $20,000 in damages. Of course, most of her savings were already gone, spent on dates with you and new clothes, but I still plan to charge you the same amount. He immediately dropped to his knees. I can't pay $20,000. Please, I'm begging you. Can we reduce the amount? Why's that? My ex-wife told me you're some elite guy making $70,000 a year. That's not true. At the reunion, I got carried away. Everyone was bragging about their company names and salaries. I just blurted something out. Blurted something out? It wasn't exactly a lie. I do work at a big company, but I'm just a contract worker. My actual income is barely $30,000 a year, and I said I was single, but I'm actually married. I have a kid as well. Why would you lie like that? 'Cause I wanted to look cool. I just wanted women to like me. I already knew most of this from the investigator's report, but hearing it directly from him made it clear that he was even worse than I thought. So my ex-wife didn't know you were a contractor making only $30,000 a year? No, she had no idea. Well, if you're making $13,000 less than I am, I can see how $20,000 in damages might be tough, especially with a wife and kid to take care of. I agreed to reduce the amount. Even so, paying $13,000 would still be a major hit for him. After the meeting, I was home alone when my phone rang. It was my ex-wife.
You've realized it by now, haven't you? That I'm the real victim here?
Huh? I'm the victim? You cheated on me!
No, I was the victim. He tricked me. He lied about being a full-time employee. If I had known he was just a contractor, I never would have slept with him.
I see.
He said he made $70,000 a year. That's why I went to the hotel with him.
You've always been obsessed with winners and losers, throwing tantrums over fancy restaurants and whatnot.
No, not anymore. I finally realized something. Labeling people as winners or losers is stupid. What really matters is love and trust. Home-cooked meals, the simple things.
Well, I don't love you anymore, and I'll never trust you again.
Please don't say that. You're all I have left.
No. A loser like me has no business talking to someone like you, let alone marrying you. If you still want to chase after a winner, do it alone, please. I hung up the phone. After that phone call, she kept calling me over and over, but lately she'd started leaving dinner at my doorstep in the evenings. I even spoke with the police, but they said this kind of thing wasn't serious enough for them to intervene. My lawyer had already warned her, but clearly she didn't care. And eventually, I had no choice but to pick up one of her calls. The moment I answered, she started ranting non-stop.
I don't care about being a winner anymore, I swear. Look, I've been cooking every single day just for you. Every meal is full of love. If you forgive me, I'll make you a homemade dinner every night.
I'm not forgiving you, and stop dropping off food.
Why would you say something like that?
You barely did any housework when we were together, and when I called you out on it, you snapped at me and said it's your fault for being such a loser you can't even afford a live-in maid. Remember that?
That was in the past. I'll clean, I'll do the laundry, anything. I won't call you a low-income loser anymore. I don't care about income or winners and losers anymore.
If that's true, then you should be fine living with your parents, working part-time, and slowly paying off the damages you owe me. That's definitely loser status, right? But hey, you said you don't care anymore. When I emphasized the word loser, she let out a half scream, half growl that didn't even sound human. Clearly, she still cared about being a winner. I make around $40,000 a year. That doesn't exactly put me in the winner's circle, does it? So why not go chase someone else who fits your standards? And with that, I hung up. Surprisingly, I didn't hear from her for a while after that. About a month later, she called me again. This time, her voice had energy, confidence.
Thanks for the advice.
She said cheerfully, "What advice?"
You told me to go find a real winner instead of wasting time on a loser like you. Well, guess what? Can you guess how much my new boyfriend makes?
How much?
$130,000 a year. That's right, he's a total winner, more than 3 times what you make.
She went on, bragging about her new relationship. I didn't say anything, I just let her talk. After I hung up, I muttered to myself, a divorced woman in her 30s landing a guy who makes $130,000 a year in just a month? I knew she'd been fooled by that old classmate at the reunion, and I was sure she was getting duped again this time. Sure enough, less than 3 days later, she called me.
Please, can you hold off on collecting the damages I owe you?
Why? Didn't you land that guy who makes $130,000 a year? And you've still got your part-time income, right?
That jerk lied to me. He's not making $130,000. He's unemployed. He had me paying for everything on our dates, and then he just vanished.
Is that so? Still chasing winners and pulling the same stupid moves, huh? I was beyond exasperated. Apparently, she tried to track the guy down but never found him. She even went to the police, but no luck. She couldn't afford to hire a private investigator, so she gave up. After that, she kept getting taken in by sketchy men, over and over. If there's one thing I've really learned from all this, it's that obsessing over winners is a terrible way to live.
I'm Hannah. I met my husband Jay through my work. He was a calm and polite person.
My ancestors were local notables, and my mom is an interior designer, and her business is doing well.
He was proud of his mother, and I thought that was a good thing. After we got married, we moved close to his mother's house, which was quite far from my parents' house. I didn't have any friends here and didn't know anybody here. I changed my job too, so I didn't have anybody close at work either. Honestly, I felt isolated. A few days after we settled into the new place, Jay suggested,
"Let's have dinner at Mom's house from now on."
"What? You mean every day?" I thought we were going to enjoy our newlywed life, at least for a while, so his proposal was totally unexpected. I don't mind helping out my mother-in-law when she gets older or needs help with something, but she's still well and runs a business.
She said she wanted to have dinner with you. I guess she's lonely after my dad passed.
I was lonely too, so I agreed. That's fine. To be honest, I was worried that my mother-in-law, Larissa, would bully me. But she runs a business and has a lot of clients. She's from a good family, so she must be a good person. And since we live close, I had to try and get along with her. She invited me for dinner, and how can I say no to that? And the day came. Dinner at the in-laws for the first time. She told us to come over at around 3 p.m. Isn't it a little early for dinner? Maybe she wants to teach me cooking or something. Jay was behaving normally too. He seems to be a good son who tries to fulfill his mother's wishes a lot. But as soon as Larissa saw me, she said,
Don't just stand there, but get to it already. Start with cleaning and laundry.
Excuse me?
You are as dumb as you look. Go clean the bathroom first. Wash the bathtub and toilet thoroughly. After cleaning every room, do the laundry next.
Marissa was tall, stern, and intimidating. She was absolutely two-faced. She wasn't like this at all before we got married. I did the cleaning and laundry as she told me. I said to myself, it's okay, at least we're not living together. When I finished cleaning, she sighed heavily.
Oh no, do I have to tell you everything? First, serve me some tea before getting to work. I'm tired after meeting with clients.
I'm tired too with a new job. And she's making me do the housework in her house. Isn't it her job to serve tea to a guest? Of course, I didn't say it out loud. It's my first week of marriage. I didn't want to make waves. Yes, Mother, I'll be careful. I said that instead and made tea for her. Of course, she said I didn't know how to make tea. I was exhausted before dinner. She sighed so many times. I hoped I wouldn't hear it in my dreams.
Do I have to teach you from A to Z? Why can't you think of anything? You're not my child or student, and I'm not your teacher.
I'm sorry.
You're not trying hard at all. You're not doing anything right. Are you always like this? Don't you have the slightest respect for your husband or his family?
She went on and on for half an hour without a single thank you. When she was tired of yelling, she asked me a question.
By the way, are you still not...
Did I miss something?
A baby! You're not pregnant yet, are you? Try to get pregnant as soon as possible.
Why? We've just got married and we want to have children in a few years. Also, I just got a new job and I'm trying to get used to this new lifestyle.
Once you're married, becoming a mother should be your first priority. I can teach you how to do housework, but if you don't have a child, you don't count as a wife. Even if you're married legally, I wouldn't consider you as my son's wife.
But we talked about it and decided together about family planning.
Jay, is that true?
She asked Jay, who was watching TV all this time, as if it had nothing to do with him. He answered with his usual smile.
Did I say that? Anyway, what you said is right, Mom.
So I said to him loudly, "Yes, you did. We've talked about it many times and decided to wait at least a year before having kids."
No, sooner the better, just like Mom said. It's only common sense. We can still enjoy the honeymoon period with a child. Besides, you never know when you get used to your new job.
This was completely different from what he'd just said a few weeks ago. I thought he was kind, but maybe he's just weak-minded. He didn't defend me at all in front of his mother. The food was delivered from a French restaurant that Larissa had ordered earlier.
Mom, did you order from that famous French restaurant?
Jay was happy to see the food, and they started eating. While the two were happily eating, I raised a question fearfully. "Can I ask you something?"
What is it? We're enjoying our food.
It looks like the order for 2 people.
Of course, I ordered for 2.
Why did you...
I told you, I don't consider you as my son's wife until you have a child.
She invited me to dinner, but didn't serve the food to me. I hoped this time was the exception, but it wasn't. It happened many times. When she ordered in, there was none for me. When she cooked, there was no main dish for me other than only half a cup of rice or a piece of bread. I worked in the house for hours after my own work, and I barely got to eat. It was a nightmare to visit her. But after I got married, moved to a strange city, and changed my job, I had no one to talk to. And I hated to worry my aging parents. This is because I didn't get pregnant. That's why I wasn't qualified as a wife. It's my fault. I came to believe what Larissa kept telling me. Jay was kind as long as his mother wasn't involved. One day I bumped into the chef of the French restaurant we ordered from often. We had a small talk on the street, and he asked me,
"How do you like our food?"
I don't know, I've never had it, so... He looked puzzled and asked me why. So I explained to him that because I don't have a child yet, I'm not qualified as a wife of her son, and I don't deserve the food. Once I started talking, I couldn't stop, and kept talking in tears. The chef was furious to hear my story.
"It's simply unthinkable! I can't believe you've been treated this way. I know I wouldn't be able to bear it, poor thing!"
He found it abnormal. As I was talking, I got angry too. I want to get revenge. Will you help me? He agreed with pleasure. I started to record Larissa's verbal harassment. At the end of the month, Larissa hosted a dinner for her regular clients. When the chef delivered the food and it was served, I said it loudly. "Oh, I get to eat it today for the first time. I never actually got to eat it before because my mother-in-law said I was less than a wife and didn't deserve to eat." Larissa was upset and flatly denied it.
What are you talking about? Oh, don't believe her. She's a pathological liar.
When she finished making excuses and telling a lie, I played my voice recorder. All the guests heard her yelling and hurling abuse at me regularly. Larissa went white. I filed for divorce. With this evidence, I demanded $20,000 in damages for harassment. Larissa lost her credibility in all her clients. No one would go near her. That spread to Jay's workplace, and he also resigned. He couldn't stand the rumor and moved elsewhere. Now, Larissa eats alone, but she asked for it.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.